The golden glow of fairy lights flickered against crystal glasses. Laughter echoed through the grand suburban home, and the scent of gourmet cuisine lingered in the air. It was a night of triumph, but not for Caleb. The banner read, "Congratulations, Ryan." His younger brother, star quarterback, hometown hero, stood in the center, basking in the applause. Caleb, the forgotten shadow, clutched his framed honors diploma, summa cum laude, yet the only acknowledgement he received was a passing glance. His heart pounded, not from joy, from something darker. Maria, his mother, tapped her glass. "To Ryan, the pride of our family." Her voice, sharp and cold, sliced through the air. Caleb felt his chest tighten. Pride. What about his years of struggle? Straight A's, scholarships earned through sweat and solitude. "Mom," he spoke, voice firm but edged with hurt. "I got into Hudson University. Full ride." The room fell into an awkward silence, shattered by Maria's smirk. "Well," she said, voice dripping indifference, "at least you won't need us to pay for it." A chuckle from an uncle, a sideways glance from a cousin. Caleb's fingers trembled around the frame. The diploma suddenly felt like dead weight. A crack of thunder. The sky roared as if the heavens shared his rage. Caleb's voice, raw and defiant, tore through the celebration. "I guess being your son never qualified me for a trophy." The room froze. "But don't worry," he hissed, eyes burning. "You'll remember my name soon enough." The front door slammed. Rain engulfed him as he vanished into the night, and with that, his story truly began. Want to know how Caleb turns pain into power? Smash that like, share, and subscribe to join him on this journey. The best is yet to come. The rain wasn't new to Caleb. It had been falling on him his entire life. But the storms that left the deepest scars were the ones you couldn't see. Flashes of his childhood burned through his mind. A school play, age 7. Caleb stood proudly on stage, his eyes scanning the crowd for Maria. She never came. Instead, he found her at home hours later, gushing over Ryan's Little League trophy. "Plays are for dreamers," she had scoffed. "Ryan is a winner." Age 12, Caleb, exhausted but thrilled, held up his science fair medal. Maria's eyes flicked to the prize and then to the clock. "Ryan's game starts in 10 minutes. Don't be selfish." His victory photo? Taken by a teacher. No family in sight. Then came the cruelty dressed as care. Maria's favorite line, "You should be more like Ryan. He knows how to make us proud." Ryan didn't need to try. Every achievement of Caleb's was met with indifference or, worse, handed to Ryan. One summer, Caleb designed a website for a local charity. Ryan presented it at school and took the credit. The applause was deafening. Caleb's protests, buried under Maria's cold words, "Family means letting your brother shine." But the deepest wound came at age 16. Caleb had saved for months to buy a used laptop for college applications, until one night, it was gone. Taken, gifted to Ryan for his birthday. Caleb's heart shattered when Maria said flatly, "Ryan needs it more. You'll figure something out. You always do." He did, but every accomplishment felt hollow. Because success meant nothing when there was no one to witness it. But now, they would watch. They would all watch. The glow of the computer screen bathed Caleb's face as his latest video soared past 1 million views. His channel, Voices Unheard, had become a beacon for those silenced by injustice. Thousands of comments hailed his courage. For once, he felt seen, but the shadows of his past had a long reach, and they were about to drag him back under. The email arrived without warning. Subject: cease and desist, copyright violation. Caleb's heart pounded as he read the demand. The claim accused him of using unauthorized footage, a video he had filmed himself. Attached was a lawsuit from Rise PR Group, a firm owned by his mother, Maria. The name on the plaintiff line hit him like a blow. Ryan Parker. His brother. Caleb's blood boiled. Of course, Ryan can't outshine me. So now he's trying to silence me. Determined, Caleb went live. They say family's your greatest support. But what happens when family becomes your greatest enemy? His voice cracked, raw with betrayal. My own brother using power and money to erase my voice. Well, guess what? I won't be erased. The live stream exploded. Stand with Caleb trended overnight. But the storm only worsened. Ryan, backed by Maria's PR machine, painted Caleb as a bitter liar, a jealous child desperate for attention. News outlets picked up the feud. Caleb's inbox flooded with threats. His sponsors withdrew. The world, once his ally, turned its back. Exhausted and on the brink of collapse, Caleb's phone buzzed. An anonymous message. You're fighting the wrong enemy. The truth is darker than you think. Meet me. Desperation overruled doubt. That night, in a desolate parking lot, a figure emerged from the shadows. A former Rise PR employee. The whistleblower handed him a flash drive. Look carefully. You're not the villain. You're the target. Back home, Caleb's hands shook as the video played. Surveillance footage, documents, emails. His stomach dropped. The lawsuit was a setup, not Ryan's doing, but Maria's. She had orchestrated everything, using Ryan's name to cover her tracks, and buried in the records, a line that shattered him. The boy can't inherit what he never knows belongs to him. In that moment, Caleb realized the greatest betrayal wasn't just silencing him. It was stealing what was his from the start. His voice was low but electric with fury as he hit record. You wanted me gone. Maria! Now, the whole world will see you. The camera blinked red. The world watched. And Caleb was alone. His video exposing Maria's scheme shattered the internet. 5 million views overnight. Headlines screamed, Family Feud turned scandal and Mother versus Son, betrayal or breakdown. The internet rallied behind him at first. Justice for Caleb trended, and his subscriber count soared. But then, the tide turned. Maria struck back with a vengeance. She played her part to perfection, a grieving mother, broken-hearted by a wayward son's lies. Caleb, she wept on a live interview, is troubled. We only tried to help him. Now he's throwing his family to the wolves for clicks. And the world believed her. The comments beneath Caleb's videos curdled into venom. Ungrateful brat, your mom gave you everything. Liar, you're just chasing fame. Bet you made it all up for views. Then came the real attack. His address leaked. Reporters swarmed his apartment. Trolls spammed his inbox with death threats. Caleb's sponsors dropped him. His bank account frozen. Thanks to a fraud investigation filed by Rise PR, the final blow came from Ryan. A public statement. I regret the pain caused to my family. Caleb's actions are his own. I won't be part of his destruction. Caleb read it twice. 3 times. The words felt colder than any lawsuit. The brother he once longed to reach had severed him completely. That night, Caleb stared at the shattered remains of his YouTube silver play button, broken in a fit of rage. His voice, raw and hoarse, barely a whisper. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should just stop. But fate wasn't done with him. His phone buzzed. Another anonymous message. Ready to know what you're really fighting for? It was an address, one tied to Maria's company records. With nothing left to lose, Caleb went. The building loomed, a crumbling office, forgotten and cold. His footsteps echoed as he found a dusty filing cabinet. A folder labeled Parker Trust. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside, proof of a massive inheritance from his biological grandparents. Money funneled through shell companies, all controlled by Maria. The largest beneficiary named? Ryan. But beneath it another name. His name. His birthright stolen. And then, the twist that stopped his heart. A birth certificate. The mother's name, Maria Parker. Father unknown. His knees buckled. Not adopted. Not taken in. Her son. Her real son. The whispers of his childhood. The indifference. The cruelty clicked into place. She hadn't abandoned him because he wasn't family. She had crushed him because he was. Because his existence threatened the empire she built for Ryan. When he emerged from the building, the night air felt heavier. His phone buzzed once more. They wanted you silenced. You're their greatest threat. But you are not alone. Attached was a video file. He pressed play. A familiar voice filled the air. Ryan, his brother, arguing with Maria, you lied to me. You said he was just a parasite. He is a parasite, Maria's voice hissed. And you're my only real son. If you don't stay in line, I'll bury you too." The clip ended, and so did Caleb's hesitation. The live stream began, no filters, no script, just truth. His voice, steady with the fire of everything he had lost. "You tried to erase me. You tried to break me. But the one thing you never understood," his eyes, blazing into the lens, "is that I don't break. I rise." His finger hovered. Upload. The days after Caleb exposed Maria's empire felt like living on a battlefield. Victory came with a price, one he hadn't fully counted. His face flooded every news outlet, but the headlines twisted his triumph into controversy. Some called him a hero, others a traitor. But none of that mattered when Jamie vanished. Caleb found their apartment ransacked, drawers overturned, furniture shattered, no signs of Jamie, only one chilling message scrawled across the mirror: "Trust no one." His phone buzzed, an anonymous text: "You wanted war. Now it's here." Attached was a photo, Jamie, tied and beaten. Caleb's stomach dropped. His hands shook as rage boiled beneath his skin. The text continued, "Come alone. You know where." The address led him to a cold, abandoned estate, a relic of Maria's empire. The silence screamed danger, but Caleb moved forward, heart pounding, adrenaline sharp. "Jamie," his voice echoed, raw and desperate, a faint sound, a groan. He sprinted, rounding a corner to find Jamie, bloodied but alive. Restrained against a pillar, Caleb rushed forward, but a shadow moved behind him. "Step away." The voice froze his blood. Familiar, cold. He turned, Maria. Her eyes blazed with a mixture of fury and triumph. "Look at you," she spat. "So eager to be the hero? But heroes," her voice dropped into something venomous, "die first." Caleb's fists clenched. "You've lost. Maria, the world knows who you are." A slow, cold smile crept across her lips. "You think exposure means anything? Public opinion shifts like the wind. Power." She stepped forward, her voice lethal. Power is in control, and I still own yours." He felt the tension coil tighter. "Then why are you here?" Her eyes sharpened. "Because you don't understand what you've inherited. You broke my empire, but what's beneath it? You can't destroy." Suddenly, "Let them go." Caleb turned. Ryan, his brother, stood with a gun raised, his voice shaking but resolute. Maria's eyes flickered, something sharp. "Disappointed, Ryan," she said softly, with that familiar, manipulative sweetness. "I made you. You don't belong to him." Ryan's voice cracked. "You used me, just like you used him. I won't be your weapon anymore." A flicker of something pain crossed her face, but it was gone in an instant. Her lips curled coldly. "Then you're disposable." The tension snapped, a shot fired. Caleb felt the impact, a searing agony through his shoulder. He staggered but remained standing. Ryan's voice broke. "No." But Caleb's voice, raw and shaking, cut through. "You always said you owned me, Maria." His breath was ragged, but his eyes were fire. "But you never owned this." The sirens wailed outside, the authorities, drawn by the chaos. Maria's mask cracked, but she recovered, her voice slicing through the tension. "This isn't over. You've only inherited the shadows." As officers burst through, her final words lingered. "You may survive me, Caleb, but you'll never survive them." Jamie was safe. Maria was taken. But the war had only just begun. The sirens faded, but the echo of Maria's final warning thundered in Caleb's chest. "You'll never survive them." A week passed, but the victory felt hollow. Jamie was alive but shaken, and Ryan, his brother, his betrayer, his ally, hovered on the edge of guilt and silence. Caleb's body ached from the bullet wound, but the deeper pain came from the questions that Maria left behind. And then, the questions came looking for him. It started with a news bombshell, an exposé claiming Caleb Parker fabricated his entire story. Photos emerged, doctored screenshots, false bank statements, painting him as a con artist who had set his own mother up for destruction. Sponsorships vanished overnight. His email flooded with threats. Worse, Jamie received a warning: "Stay silent. or next time you won't walk away. But the worst was Ryan's silence. The brother who had once taken a bullet for him now wouldn't even answer his calls. But Caleb didn't break. He hunted. Through Jamie's recovered files, Caleb traced the smear campaign back to a familiar name, Rise PR, Maria's old company, but she was behind bars. So who was pulling the strings? A single hidden file, a letter from Rise PR's encrypted archives, chilled him. The Parker asset has been neutralized. Proceed with the inheritance transfer. Primary guardian confirmed, D. Roth. Before Caleb could make sense of it, his apartment exploded. A blast, fire and shrapnel consuming everything he owned. He barely escaped, lungs burning, body battered, and yet his phone, untouched, buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Run? Caleb. Or Neil. But Caleb didn't run. He called. The meeting was at midnight, an abandoned industrial complex. The man who awaited him was shadowed in power, his suit crisp, his presence heavier than any threat Caleb had faced. His voice was smooth, practiced, and cold. Darius Roth. He introduced himself, his name sliding like venom. I handled your mother's affairs. His smile was thin. Now, I handle you. Caleb's fists clenched. What do you want? Darius's eyes sharpened. The inheritance? Caleb, you're sitting on an empire, a network that spans power, money, and leverage. Maria hid it from you, but it's yours. He paused, voice dropping into something deadly. But the seat comes with a price. Loyalty. Or extinction. Caleb's heart pounded, but his voice was iron. I'd rather burn it all than be your puppet. A smirk. I thought you'd say that. A snap of fingers and the lights flashed on, revealing a security feed. Caleb's blood froze. Ryan bound, bruised, and bleeding. Darius's voice was smooth as glass, cutting as a blade. Burn it? Then, but your brother burns with it. The room felt airless, the walls closing in. Caleb's mind raced. Ryan, the brother who betrayed him, but also the brother who saved him. Could he trade justice for family? Would he survive the cost? His voice, low but sharp. What if I give you something else? Darius's brow arched. I don't deal in something else. Though Caleb's eyes burned. Then let's deal in everything. You say the network is mine? His voice dropped into something cold and dangerous. Then let me show you how I rule it. The choice wasn't to destroy or obey, it was to take over. Darius's eyes narrowed. You want the throne? A beat. Caleb's voice. A blade. No, I want the empire. And with that, the game changed. The room felt like it was shrinking, the air cold and thin, but Caleb's voice cut through it. Sharp and certain. I want the empire. Darius's eyes narrowed, his smile tight. So, the son of Maria finally grows claws. But power isn't taken with words. Caleb. It's taken with blood. The screen flickered on, and Caleb's heart stopped. Ryan, bruised and bound, his chest heaving with shallow breaths. You want my seat? Darius's voice was smooth, cruel. Kill him. One bullet, and the empire is yours, or you both die here. Caleb's pulse thundered, but his voice was low and cold. You think I'll play your game? Darius's eyes glinted. You already are. You just haven't made your move. The gun sat between them, heavy with silence. Caleb's fingers twitched, but he didn't reach for it. He reached for something sharper, his voice. You think a crown comes from blood? Darius? His tone was like glass breaking. I learned something from Maria. The most dangerous weapon. His lips curled into something cold and knowing. Isn't a bullet. It's the truth. Darius's phone buzzed. He glanced down, and the color drained from his face. Every secret, every deal, every crime. Exposed. The entire network, crumbling in real time. Darius's voice dropped to a growl. What did you do? Caleb's eyes burned. You tested me. So, I chose. Not power, not blood. I chose to end you. Darius's composure cracked into rage. You burned the whole empire. No. Caleb's voice was soft. Lethal. I burned yours. A sudden crash, authorities bursting in. Darius's gaze locked on Caleb as he was dragged away. His final words a venomous whisper. You've won nothing. Parker, the board is bigger than you think. And the players, far worse than me. The battle ended, but the war had only shifted. Ryan, bruised but breathing, met Caleb's gaze from the hospital bed. His voice, weak but clear. Why? Caleb's voice was raw. Because you're my brother, and I choose family. But peace was fleeting. A message, untraceable. Cold and simple. Roth was at peace. You've taken the board. Now, let's see if you survive the game. Caleb's hand tightened. His body was battered. His heart scarred. But his voice unchanged. Let them come. The dust had settled. But the war inside Caleb hadn't. Darius was gone. And the empire lay in ruins. But the scars ran deeper than any battle. Victory had stripped everything. His family, his peace, yet it had also forged something new. Caleb didn't vanish into the shadows. Instead, he turned his pain into purpose. With the influence he now held, he built something different, a refuge for the unheard, the unseen, the forgotten. Survivors of power games like his, he gave them a voice, one that no empire could silence. His fight was no longer about vengeance. It was about justice, for those who had been crushed under the weight of people like Maria and Darius. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, a letter arrived, handwritten, familiar, from Maria. His fingers hesitated at the seal, but he opened it. Her words, heavy with a weight he couldn't name. Caleb, I built my life on power, and I thought it could protect you, even if you hated me for it. I was wrong. I became the storm you had to survive, but you were stronger than me. Stronger than I ever taught you to be. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I only hope you never become what I was. Family isn't blood. It's who stands with you when the storm hits. Caleb's hand tightened around the paper. The woman who had tried to destroy him had left him with a truth he could not deny. He didn't burn the letter, but he didn't answer it either. He simply placed it in a drawer, not as closure, but as a reminder. The world still had shadows, still had monsters, but Caleb didn't fight alone anymore. His community, his family, stood with him, and together, they didn't wait for storms. They became them. Caleb's journey isn't over, because justice never rests. If you were him, would you forgive or never forget? Share your thoughts below. And if you believe in fighting for those without a voice, share and subscribe, because this is only the beginning.